Hello, everybody. Good evening. This is Dr. I have a very interesting title today. Uh, this is taken from ancients, obviously. Um, Translated into English, it says the person can never be liberated, but one can be free of the person. So, what does it mean? Uh, it's a commentary of human condition, and it's a commentary on what human endeavor, what we go through life in a big setting, right? So I want to expand on that. Uh, what it is first of all, you have to come to our ordinary understanding and what is real deep understanding of the ancients of the human being, who the human being is, or what the human being is. That's more appropriate, probably. So normally we think we're this here, that person, and are made up of this body and this mind and feelings and all that, right? It's a sense of me is this is me. My body gets hurt, I get pain. My feelings are hurt, I get pain. That kind of thing, right? And now, normal thinking would be like that. But then people who look deep within themselves, who really understood the body kind of changes all the time. So, what we were yesterday, we already changed it today, right? And it's going to change tomorrow too. So, it's like a water under the bridge, it goes on. So, whatever is changing continuously and really not being there, how can you identify that as you, permanent person? No. The same with the thoughts too. So whatever is changing, that's only one criteria. There are three or four criteria there, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is to understand that we, what we feel, the sense of we, I, within us never changes really. You know, it may, body may age, disease, and die, but the inner sense of life or consciousness that never goes away. It goes on. That spark goes out of the body, then you're dead, right? And so that real spark which animates the body with life and the mind with all these lively things is real us. Okay, so that has got nothing to do with our personhood. You could be a bad person, a good person. Everybody has life, right? So that life is the one what you realize, then you can get rid of this personhood. But the person trying to liberate from this kind of temporary being, well, he's never able to do it through the personality, to the ego, to the personhood. That's the meaning of it. What are the consequences of this is profound effects on the psychosomatic medicine, profound effect on the mental health, profound effect of human experience of this quality life, filled with joy, filled with bliss and blessing and all that. So uh, I think it is always there, but we don't come upon that. We kind of think other things than what we really are, right? So this real self of ours is not felt by our senses or not understood or expressed by our personality or intellect or speech, right? It can only be perceived with intuitive awareness, not even thought, not even feeling, but language. but by your own inner sense of us, intuitive sense. You have to feel that, right? So, this is the great teaching of the ancients telling us don't look at the intellect to answer all these fundamental questions. Don't try to identify your real self with intellect. Don't try because it always goes out, it doesn't go in. Then the understanding and all that happens inside, and that's not through intellect, right? It may reason, it may analyze, it may give data, but it is go on giving that. Then the moment it gives you certain shape, it already changed, right? So that's why. So you being the that I sense or intuitive awareness, then you are already free of the personhood, the egoic personality that we think we are, a thought construct, but we are not. And then you are free of that, right? So that's what this sentence was saying. As a thought bred egoic personality, you will never be liberated because you are stuck with that. And the more you do with that, the more you will create that. On the other hand, you are free of the person which you are already are, so you are already liberated. This is a very intricate, difficult thing to perceive and understand for people, but we can try and then think about it. It doesn't mean that you have to follow anybody or you have to agree with anybody. Not even me. I'm not expecting that. I'm just presenting a perspective that made sense to me as I went deeper and deeper into what is the ancient wisdom? What do they say? Why they are so stable? Why they are so anxiety free or depression free? I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about those people who have taken simpler life and sat down and really tried to go inside and find out answers from within themselves. These people are, they did so many inner experiments on themselves, on their thought, on their feeling, on the mechanism of body, and the mechanism of this inner self and all that, right? Some people call it to find out the inner self as soul or Atman, whatever, but you don't have to give any names for that. It's a kind of simple spark of life, right? Where does the two, and we know that molecular biology and all that, uh, two cells come and then a spark, and then we have a boy or a girl, and then it grows into a human being, and then it has all these things, right? But where does the spark come and where does it go? That's the existential fundamental question. So ancient contention is that spark without which, that is the experiencer, without which you don't have any experiences to experience, or you don't have any life at all, right? So that I think that much will be clear for people. But then we are so strongly identified with the body or with what we think or what we accumulate in our mind, we think that's what it is, right? And then there were philosophers who kind of, you know, got into this thinking. They went deeper and deeper, and then people are not discovering the freedom of that kind of activity and the serenity of that solitude of mind or silence of the mind are stopping the chatter. Modern life really filled with a lot of chatter, not only outside but also inside of us. And that is aggravated by this multitude of informational sources or stimuli coming at us, right? So we cannot put it down the iPhone and we cannot put it down all the entertainment. And that makes us kind of afraid at the senses. Too much use, too much information, right? So we are seeing the effect of that. I talk about it all the time. Information overload, brain fog, lack of sleep, anxiety, depression, burnout. A lot of things are happening because we have so much data coming at us. And specialization, expertise, build up data is okay. But do we have to have every kind of data in our mind? That's there. Suppose you are a doctor, you can learn about the medicine breakthroughs, you can understand the new uh, techniques so that you can improve your patient better. But do I have to know everything of the politics, everything that's going on in the world? But that is coming at us, right? Do we have discipline to say only the emails that I want, I will say, whether something economic, big picture, something political. Other than that, I don't have to have all this gossipy things that come at us that will really uh, make our mind overload, right? That's what is happening. And we are doing everything in such short attention span. We can't stay on one task more than a few seconds. We go to the other, and that getting worse. Okay, so multitasking is something I don't think is healthy. Multitasking in the sense that you are doing something, and then you suddenly think of something else, and then you go into that. You're completing this. For me, multitasking not at the same time, but one task after another is the solution where you pay complete attention. So you can keep your mind quiet, empty, and then you can feel your real I sense, not I thought, which builds a thought network, right? That's when you build up the personhood. But when your mind is silent, your intelligence comes out, and that is free of the person. So, like, recognizes what is thought, construct, personality, and that's only changes. That is not going to be permanently there, right? So, the sentence has a lot of meaning if you want to take the time and want to be patient and want to go deeper into what it says. It is commenting that you think you are this physical body or physical body and with the mind projecting thought and building yourself like I'm studied medicine, so I'm a doctor. But before the doctor, you are a human being, right? So that was a revelation for me. Then you be more human being trying to use the physician and all those degrees to have so people to help people of the suffering and also in the process make a living and have a family, do all that life. That's fine. But then identifying with the degree, like I'm the doctor, nothing else, that's a problem. That could be about anybody like that, right? You could be, it could be like a teacher, a policeman, a banker, accountant, and all. So you are identifying with the degree. You are identifying with the function you are doing. You are identifying with the employment that you had. Okay, but that goes away. Then one day you will be alone, and that degree is not there, or that status is not there, and you're retired. Even then, they identify, oh, okay, I'm so and so. Okay, so I don't have to identify myself as a physician to be human being, right? So, but by being a human being, probably I would be a better physician because I can be more empathetic to the people who are suffering, right? So, this knowing who you are or what you are, and then knowing what are your tools, what are your instruments, your body, and your different perspective when you look at. Yeah, if something happens, disease and all that, it's the body that happens, but the underlying reality, which I am, the I sense of that, that's not going to happen. So it kind of creates a distance, and then that kind of allows you to tolerate the things that come to the body or to the mind in the form of suffering much better. Like, for example, I'm counseling my sister who is now 81, something like that, and out of nowhere, she had a slip disc and then she was having a considerable amount of pain. And due to her age and all that, they were not going to do a surgery. They decided, but they put her on pain medications, regular, regular formulas, right? But I was trying to get her to see this perspective of dealing with chronic disease where you really see the pain for the body and the mind is happening outside of you, not in real sense of you. That's difficult to people follow, but the ones who follow, they have a very high price threshold. They can see the suffering without owning it. So that's why there is a big saying in medical field: pain, pain, simple pain is inevitable. It happens. You take a pin and prick it, and sensation, pain will be there. But then suffering from that pain is optional. Different people have different pain thresholds. You can see that some people tolerate pain much more than other people that can't even, thought of the thinking that there's going to be pain. They will be very upset. So it's the reaction that makes a difference. So how do you handle that? Then you learn something that happens to me with my own mind. I can really worsen that. So being aware of that fact itself kind of puts a distance between you and the pain perception. Then the pain that may be there, but you won't have the reaction of suffering. One of the pain specialists in a major conference said one time, we saw most of the pain is because people think one time they suffer, next time they think of that suffering coming on, oh my God, what it is, and then that kind of not really help your long-term recovery of pain. So it's the anticipation. It is the uh, impending danger that's coming at you that upsets you more than the actual pain, right? On the other hand, if you can work into this pain yourself and go into it and see this pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That option we can select. Okay, it's not that easy. I'm not saying everybody should do that or anything. You can take your pain pills, you can take your TENS unit, you can take your therapies and all continue. But then there are people who can be very high pain threshold because they have been bearing a lot of pain. Like the football players, for example, they get injured, they get fractured, they get so many things, right? But they come and they play with it, bear down the pain, right? They call it. So in other developing countries also you can see that. First of all, they don't have the same medical facilities as in the Western, for example, so they don't get the pain pills that easily. That's one thing. So they had to put up with the pain, right? And then the more they kind of acclimatize to that, the less pain medication they take, and then they are very much um, happy with that. Okay, there are so many examples of this acclimatization that people can have for the heat, for the cold. Winter times you can develop more tolerance to the cold by going out. We know that, and the heat also. If you are air conditioned all the time, suddenly you go out, you can feel the pain. But on the other hand, if you are really staying outdoors somewhat and then deal with the whole situation of worsening heat, your body is better acclimatized. That doesn't mean you expose yourself to the heat stroke and all. No, I'm just talking about better tolerance. Suppose you go to a tropical country, there's a lot of heat. Summer is pretty hot. How you are going to handle that by staying out, taking drinks and all that, then your body learns to do the same with pain also. The pain threshold goes up as you tolerate the pain better. That's a simple. So, who is that experiencer that says the pain is in the body, in the mind, but not me? That is the experiencer. That is the awareness that people talk about our real us. The more you're established in that, you can be in that joyful bliss, and then you don't have to feel all this. It's not easy. I'm not saying everybody should do that, but I'm just describing to you. So, identifying who you are, not the personality, not the personhood, can be free of that personhood, and then you are much more into your real self. That they call it big words like self realization, um, uh, Atma, Moksha, so many Sanskrit words are there to describe it. Well, basically, it is freeing us from our mental chatter, our activity, our continuous noise of what we think we are, what has happened to us, what is going to happen to us, all those things. But if you can really calm it down and see in this moment, who am I? What am I inside? That life power that animates this body and the mind. Through the mind, the senses, it gets all the experiences. But then, who is the experiencer? That is the awareness. That is the Atman. That is the life. That is the love. That is the consciousness. Whatever you call it, right? So, a very important point, because once you identify who you are, your suffering stops. Both bodily suffering, it may be there, but you won't be affected. Or you may be having some problems with your thinking, with your status in the society, or so many things are there, right? You won't be affected by that. You can be poor or rich, or you can be something, whatever. And the additional thing is, you have joy, bliss, um, unwavering uh, serenity, peace. All these things are there. I think that is where modern man has a tragedy, in the sense nobody really introduced us to, suppose you are not believing a religion or any particular way of thinking and you want to find out by yourself. It's very difficult, right? You want to be a part of a group and all that, then that's some people do that. But if you are away from the social pressures, away from the public appearance, away from all the paraphernalia associated with identifying with the ego, that's then you can discover that I sense, and staying in that really helps you to be quiet in the mind. Actually, after you are quiet in the mind, you can touch that. It's already there. It reveals itself. Okay, so I talk about this all the time in different perspectives, but basically, what you are to discover that is up to you. You know, it's not like you grow into it. It's like it's there, and you're kind of putting barriers over it, and you get out the barriers, and then you realize. Realize means that's already there, and then you found it, right? And then you kind of get into, you find, okay, this is what I am. Actually, it looks very simple after that. Okay, so think about that and understand this intricacies of this statement, and go into the self-inquiry. Ask a question like, who am I? You know, like you can say I'm the body, but then without some body parts you can live. And then you say, oh, I am what I think, but the thoughts change all the time. Then you say, I'm this feeling, this status, and all, but they also can go. But then once you really not go with the intellect, not go with the senses outward, and then you have withdrawn all energy to look inside, then you will see that big life spark is there, and you'll identify by taking one thing away, body, mind, and all that, you know. But once you identify that status and stay there, you know, that's something to experience for you. I don't have to describe it. It cannot be describable. It cannot be measured. It cannot be expressed, or it cannot be touched, or anything like that. Because it is subjective, you got to turn inward. Okay, anything else that happens to you, that's not you. That's all external. But once you feel yourself, then that is the staying there. I think I can kind of made an attempt to describe it. You know, if you have any questions or clarity or anything, you can always reach me, and I will tell you how important this particular aspect is. Many of the intellects cannot grasp it, because you cannot grasp it with language, you cannot grasp it with intellect, you cannot grasp it with the concepts, anything else. You can be free of all that. Okay, But it's up to you. You want to do that or not. I'm not saying you are doing something wrong by being worshipping the intellect. Intellect, by definition, goes out. Senses go out. So to feel this, you cannot use senses. You have to use your intuitive awareness. That is beyond thought. Okay. First of all, the concept of beyond thought is self non comprehensible to a lot of people. Okay. So don't try to understand. Try to feel it. Try to recognize it in yourself. See, then is a significant thing. As a matter of fact, ancients described this. If you are born as a human being, to turn inward like this and realize our real self is our goal. That's why we are here. So the purpose of life, as they describe it, is to turn inward and realize who we really are, and that resolves all your suffering, bodily, mental. It's not the suffering is not there, but it is more like you don't react to it, and you don't identify with it, and you don't continue to do that. There were several examples for this of great men. Some people had cancer, some people had eyes gone, ears gone, and they lived beyond 90 and all that. How are they able to do that? Because they don't have the external feed, but what they have is inner bliss. That's one thing. Once you identify, why you have to do as a human being is, if you take the animals, mostly they are instinctual. But human being will not be satisfied with superficial things. He wants to go deeper and deeper. So there is an intelligence beyond your intellect, your knowledge, your accumulator, whatever, right? Um, to really touch this, you got to be very simple, very nothing, in the sense of you're a person. That personhood should be nothing. Then what you are reveals itself. And once you cannot do anything, just like you should not be doing these things. There are systems that were described in spirituality. First thing is discriminate between what you really are, what you are not. Throw away what you are not by being detached to what you are not. That is missing in many of the Western cultures, because I think Eastern cultures also now. But then why? Because they don't have a sense of detachment. They want to have worldly things and also spirituality. It doesn't match. Okay, but if you can detach yourself to the what is not real of you, then you can focus on what you really are. And that comes out, that is the blessing. And that is what the Indians were talking about. Okay. All right. So I can go on talking about it because I love this subject, and then I really think this is a purpose of our life. Not because I said so, but they made me realize that. What they said was human beings are having this intelligence. And that's why if you're born as a human being, it's a big deal. And you should be happy that you are born a human being, because you have this opportunity to realize who you are. All the religions are talking about it. No particular religion has anything on it, but you can do the Asian cultures. They have several, even modern contemplative Catholics. So they do that. They go and put some certain place and then go into meditation, identify that. Okay, there will be a very simple life outward. They have detachment to the worldly life. That's why they go into this real spirituality, and turning like that and then establish yourself is the purpose, because everybody goes through that eventually. One life after other. That's it. All depends upon whether you believe there are lives or not. There's a um, I can't really put a nice question on that. He was watching these old black and movies, and he was watching so many people in the street, the 1940s movies or something. And then he had a question: what happened to all these people? They died, and then that's it, or what happened to that spark? What is life? Now we see fish are killed and again fish come back. What happened to that life? It has rebirth again. So it's a practical thing to read. There are so many theories to say that why reincarnation is as a fact. That's why death is not a, a an end or a conclusion, but it is more like a beginning of a new life, that kind of thing. And that also takes away a lot of fear of death in older people and ancient people. Okay, it's not a convenient use to do that. You can do it like that, but if you look at it, the grass goes down during the season, and we think it's all gone, but it comes out. So there's life hidden there or damped down, and then it comes back, right? So many things. If you observe, there is this recurrence of life, cyclical life. That's how they're described as reincarnation. Many cultures still believe that, and that's why they say, okay, even if you die, we'll come back. That's okay. We have a lot of plenty of time. That's what the ancient sages said. I don't die, so I'm not afraid. I'm not in a hurry because I have a lot of time. And because I'm stationed there, I have mental stability and then I deal with the body's things much easier. Medical fact, if you are established in your real self, you don't have the movement of thought, stability of the mind, right? Also, equanimity in the body too. So, like a steadiness of the body. Then what happens is all this stress hormones, everything will not be secreted, because even if you face a situation where you are reacting with your mind, that goes down. I think that's one of the things I always talked about, always felt it, but because nothing phases me, nothing shakes me these days. Not that they are not important. What I do is I don't react emotionally, I don't react with the mind, but I respond to what I need to do. Okay, with a stable mind, with a steadiness in the body. Okay, that is the purpose of the yoga in a way. So if you take Patanjali yoga, the 8 principles are there. If you start at the end where they get into absorbed into the complete samadhi, from there, why? Because the mind is stabilized. Okay, it should be in dhyana, that means steady in one place. Why it is not there? Because I have my mind flickers. Why does it flicker? It doesn't focus. Why does it focus? It has too many senses coming out. Too many senses coming in. And then what do you do for that? You deal with your pranic energy, that is the inner energy. How do you do that energy? By being steady in the body. So that's the important thing, to be steady in the body. But most people, don't have that, and you don't have to use any drugs, anything like that for that. You get to have deeper self-inquiry, okay, to find out who you are. So much involved in this statement. Okay, there is a personhood which is not us, but we think it is, and then we are always trying to get some spiritual goal, but it's already there. We are just not realizing. That's what it is. Then how does it realize? By getting rid of our built-in personhood. So realize that is not a permanent thing, and then really don't identify with it. Then you are already what you are. You are already self-realized. Then you realize. But if you are so wedded to the intellect, conceptual thinking, cognitive excellence, and all, they're all good for the purpose of that. But then you get to go beyond as a human being with intelligence, the intuitive awareness. Then you will discover that. Okay, you can think this is all madness, what I'm talking about. That's up to you. But I enjoy the blissness of it. I enjoy the lightness of it. I enjoy the steadiness of it. And I'm not taking any medications, and I don't get sick that easily. And I enjoy this steady, joyful, serene inner self. Established in that, you have suffering out there, but you don't react. This is what Buddha said. He was a prince, as you know. He was involved in luxury. He was enjoying so many um, pleasant experiences, so many, dancing girls or whatever that they thought, just like Americans now think is whining and dining is a real thing. They did 1,000 times more than that. Okay, I remember when Maharaja wrote a book about Paris life. They use milk for bathing. So different things are different kinds of experience are there. So what father did was when Buddha was born, the astrologers told them either he becomes a great seer, that means he will become a big time sage, or he'll become a big time emperor. His father wanted him to be emperor. He considered being a seer and all that is not life, because he only know about enjoying things and all that, right? So he wanted to protect this kid from going that way. So he puts him in a palace. He doesn't let him see any trouble in life, right? What he does is anybody gets old, anybody gets disease or anything, he used to send them to a different city which he formed himself, where all the people who are suffering will go there, right? And nobody can be seen in the city also. But as destiny, uh, he goes and sees the person suffering old age with a disease, dying, and all that. Then he's moved by that because he was so much protected from that. All this all of a sudden that is given, and major transformation happens within him. So he wanted to find out, is this suffering real? If it is there a solution to that? You know? Then he goes out and then he finds his self-enlightenment, self-realization, and then he's really Buddhahood. So he doesn't suffer or anything like that. Years pass, and the people are listening to him. And one guy come in and confronts him and asks him, "You said you set the sail from palace because you wanted to answers to the suffering. But now you see, you are also getting old. You are getting diabetes. He had diabetes, and you are going to die like all of us. So where did you solve the suffering?" Then he says, "Yeah, that all those things are there in the world and they come at us. So you can take it as a first arrow that comes to you that you cannot avoid. That is something is going to happen for sure. That first arrow is the worldly, whatever comes from the world. And then how you react is what I'm talking about. What you can do about it. That's where you can transcend the suffering. You don't have to react suffering in that way. And that's what he did. When somebody came and spat at him, he was very, uh, he had no mind to move about and all that. Right? Modern people like J. Krishnamurti, Eckhart Tolle, they talked about this silent mind, where not because you are dumb, not because you are kind of coward, no, because you are transcended that thinking, the mind, and all that. So your mind don't react, and that can be practiced, that can be understood, that can be, we can land into that state. That's why I say meditation is for the people who are novices, but destruction of the mind, mano nasha, they call it, that is intuitive awareness, where you ended up in that self, which is not moving at all, so it doesn't have the mind to move because it has transcended the mind, it has destroyed the mind that way. That's why it's called mano nasha. Mano means mind, nasha means destruction, right? So once you have that, you will be able to understand. I don't have to, because if you don't have a wavering mind, why do you need meditation? You are always in that awareness. Okay, so he was like that. Even somebody came and spit at him, He did not accept it. He did not accept the insult. He just stayed it and let the person go. The other people said, "Oh, he's insulting you. You're doing that." He said, "There is nothing for me to react. I did not accept his insult." So it's a major, major thing. So in deeper philosophy, there is no meditation, but your mind is calm because the reactive mind is not there anymore. Okay. So it's a pretty big deal, this statement, what I said. But then it's up to each individual, right? I'm not saying you have to follow, but it's up to you. Okay. You have to be really on the journey by yourself. Hello, Jacob. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Rao. I am ashamed and sad, and I feel a little evolved and more aware. I acted out of disinhibition
Yeah.
on Friday evening, and I chose to slam a door behind me,
Oh,
except my finger got caught, and it almost cut off the tip of my finger,
oh boy.
Dr. Rao.
Uh,
Yeah, it cut off my nail and the chunk of flesh right under my nail.
oh,
The
you know,
bottom part.
it can regrow, Jacob, if you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't lose any length.
Okay.
I don't know how flesh
Yeah.
regrowth works, but they said in 3 months it should be relatively
Yeah.
almost back to.
This happened to my sister when we were very young. She's only 2 years older than me. And we were playing, and then she got caught in the door, and then the tip of it cut off. Then she began to scream, and we were playing downstairs. My mom is upstairs. So she was running to her, just holding her finger like that, and then bleeding and all. Then I found the piece, small piece of her finger, and I carried that upstairs and gave it to my mom. So this is the piece I found where she cut her thing. But then they didn't stitch that piece to her finger. They let it grow, and it grew. You can see the crookedness a little bit, but still she had a full grown nail and full grown all of that. So you'll get it back. As in so many. Only thing is some kind of if it is an index finger or thumb, sometimes people have need for them in fine art or something. That's maybe a little bit more effort is needed, but I'm glad it will come back for you.
Me too. You know what's interesting, Dr. Rao?
Mm.
I used to do martial arts.
Yeah.
When I had an injury inflicted on me by somebody else,
Mm.
it was a different sensation.
Yeah.
Like because I self-inflicted this injury, I felt like it was a very pathetic feeling because I felt almost more sorry for myself that I was the one who caused the action and the dysregularity. So every time I looked at the injury, it's like it made me feel like shame and I don't know, like, and it was worse than the pain, which was interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that phenomenon didn't occur when somebody else inflicted an injury upon me.
Yeah.
Because it was all about just like.
Because you were kind of ready to take that and defend yourself. But here, your defenses are down and you experience it, so you kind of feel like, why did I injure myself? The theme of this particular talk is you are not just this body or your mind, but you are that inner energetic life force, right? That means you are not the person, you are the self that owns the body and the mind. So your tool is injured, but it will grow back. I say your pride is injured, but that will go away. So what I'm talking about here, personhood is what we think we are, like this body or this thought construct, ego or personality. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you think like that all the time, there will be suffering. But the moment you land up in that inner source of life, then you can see this with a distance. It's a big deal in psychosomatic medicine, but it's a big deal in ancient wisdom also of self-realization. It's a big topic, but I hope you got what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Actually, there is a breathing practice that I do in the morning with my students, where it's actually a very healthy thing to practice too. I make them sit down comfortably and then keep their spine straight. Then uh, eyes closed, mouth closed. They take deep breaths in and out through the nose. But as they do that, as they really breathe out, we say, I'm not this body and or the mind. That means I'm not just this body and the mind, but I am this inner life force that is in me, that is kind of um, divinizing my body and mind, or animating my body or mind, whatever, right? Without this life force, we are nothing. So the breath itself is not just the air coming in and going. It is the life force that is coming into us and going out, right? As you go out, what we are not, you kind of let it go. Or, in this sense, the sense of attachment we have to the body and mind, it could be pretty strong, nothing wrong with it. But this is a phenomena. As you go into advanced meditations, then you realize, okay, body is separate from you and thought is separate from you, even though they are not. So you won't react that much. It's a big deal in psychosomatic medicine too. Does it make any sense to you, Jacob? Jacob, are you there? Okay, everybody. Anybody on the anybody wants to come and talk about this? Or okay, all right. I am done with what I have to say, and I hope we can continue this kind of discussions again. Um, they reinforce me in my understanding, so at least that is there. I hope somebody can touch that too, and I will talk to you again tomorrow at the same time, 6 o'clock. And thank you for joining me and listening to me. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.